And I get where Terence Crawford's coming from, but Terence Crawford, where you going, bro? You gonna fight this kid Ennis, who's special, by the way? Because if you ain't gonna fight him, who you got? You want a rematch with Errol Spence? Most of us don't want to see that. See, we trying to act like Charlo went out there as a super welterweight and fought like this. No, he moved up 2 weight classes. He wanted to dare to be great. But then when he stepped in the ring with this monster and he realized that he couldn't hurt him, you damn right he was trying to survive. Who the hell wants to get knocked out? Come on, man. Stop acting like we don't know.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Stephen A. Smith asked the $1 million question. Is Terence Crawford going to face Jaron Boots Ennis? That's what I want to talk about in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, the beginning clip you heard it was Stephen A. Smith of ESPN. Most people know him from First Take, and he was weighing in on the whole Canelo versus Charlo fight, the aftermath, Terence Crawford's tweet, where he says, I'm not even looking to fight Charlo after that fight. Now, let's take it from the top. I don't know why so many people seem so perturbed and bothered with the outcome of Canelo versus Charlo. I told you guys, for anybody who would listen, exactly what to expect. That fight for me was not hard to forecast because you had a guy, he would be moving up 2 weight divisions, which is unheard of. I mean, just think for a quick second. Use your brain. Use your brain. You got guys in boxing who have moved up 1 weight class, literally 1, right? And in those 1 weight class jumps, they lost. Guys like Kell Brook. So basically, I got my chocolate right hand brownie. I'm getting ready to fight Triple G and me fight with Errol. I want to do him like Amir, right? Kell Brook, he moved up 1 weight class to fight Golovkin. No, actually, his was a little bit more because he was from 47, but he did have some fights kind of in the 150-pound division. So he basically moved 1.5, and you've seen his career was almost never the same after the Triple G fight and then the Errol Spence fight. He damaged both of his orbitals. So I don't really understand what people were expecting. And then I'm going to keep saying that with Canelo versus Charlo. You heard Stephen A. Smith, and it's crazy because Stephen A. Smith, he's not somebody that I personally turn to for boxing knowledge and boxing takes, if you will. No disrespect to him, but, you know, I know enough about boxing. I don't really need to lean in on other people's opinion like that. But I think Stephen A. Smith was dead on the money. He said a lot of things that made sense with that particular take. I can't speak for all of his takes, but in terms of that, it made sense. He's like, you got up there with Canelo and you couldn't hurt him, and you realized you couldn't hurt him, and it became a problem. And who wants to get knocked out in front of people? And that's another thing that I said on my videos is just basically he got up there, overestimated what he would be able to do, and underestimated Canelo's power and skill and ability. And he thought he could get up there and do something, and then he couldn't. So that's what happened. He was kind of in survival mode. And if you have anybody who's in doing a radical weight class jump like that, it's not out of the realm of possibilities for that to be how the fight plays out. Because again, no one wants to get knocked out on pay-per-view, millions of people potentially tuning in. You know, it was a packed live audience, 18, 19, 20,000 people. It's just, you almost live to fight another day. Now, it leads me to the next part where he was talking about Crawford, and he was talking about Crawford's tweet. Crawford says, okay, y'all, I'm over Jermell Charlo. You know, basically Canelo made him look like a cub. Why should I fight him? It makes no sense to fight him now. He was embarrassing. The Canelo fight was not a good fight, and there was very little resistance from Jermell Charlo. So that being said, Stephen A. Smith is now asking the question to Terence Crawford, which I think is a fair one. And okay, cool. Jermell Charlo's out the picture. I haven't heard Crawford. And see, this is the perplexing thing about Terence Crawford. Before Canelo Charlo, when we didn't know what the outcome, even though I just told you I knew what the outcome was going to be, but before we got the actual results, because at the end of the day, I'm liable to be off on my fight prediction. In my mind, I knew how the fight would play out, and it played out exactly how I expected with everything considered. But with that being said, we still had to see the fight play out. Before this fight actually took place, Terence Crawford kept calling out the winner, and he kind of double backed, and I'll explain. Initially, Terence Crawford said he wouldn't be willing to go over 154 pounds. If you listen to his very initial interview, he did one with like maybe Hot 97, and he says 154 is basically his top. But then people were gassing him up, and you had guys like Shakur Stevenson who were doing interviews, and they were like, man, Bud's a beast, and Bud will beat Canelo Alvarez no matter what the weight class is. And then with that being said, you know, the Canelo Chupapi Muñeños and the boxing fans, they heard this like, what? He'll beat Canelo at 168? I got to see that. And then you've seen people start pitching for the winner of this fight to fight Crawford. And then Crawford kept saying, I'll fight Canelo, right? But as of me recording this video, I haven't heard Crawford say too much himself since Canelo won. The only thing I seen where he mentioned Canelo was congratulating Canelo on a one-sided victory. He basically said on Twitter, on X, that Canelo, congratulations, you did your thing. Canelo, you made Charlo look like a cub. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. He said that you won, congratulations. But I'm just wondering, where's the energy from Terence Crawford regarding the fight when it was speculation at best on who would win this fight? It seemed like Crawford was like really all in, and he said he wanted the winner. Now that Canelo is absolutely the winner, I mean, there's no one that can say otherwise. Jermell Charlo even accepted his loss. I didn't see anyone say that it was, you know, a BS or robbery. Like, you look at the co-main event, you had Erickson Lubin versus Jesus Ramos. Different people felt that fight could have went different ways. We'll just leave it at that. However, nobody in their right mind would say that Canelo lost this fight with Jermell Charlo. It was all so obvious. Even Stephen A. Smith is saying like, hey, Charlo didn't want to get knocked out, you know? And you had people, I've made videos about it, but rappers like Cameron and Mace, they said they were mad and offended that Cameron was mad that Mace drug him to the fight, to see the fight, expecting something big. And then this was the outcome. And this is what I told you I don't like for the sport of boxing. This is my sport of boxing. And it's just a bad look because people are expecting this blowout. They're not expecting a blowout. They're expecting this great fight and back and forth action and a fun fight or a knockout. And then really the opposite was delivered. There was very low drama, you know, outside of Charlo taking a knee. That wasn't even the craziest knockdown we've seen. You know, it was like he got overwhelmed and there was very little resistance. It just wasn't the greatest fight. It's just that simple. Many people, Oscar De La Hoya and others, have stated this. It goes without saying. So fast forward to the future, I am curious, even though I think I'm not a big fan of rapid weight class jumps, like 2 weights and 3 weights. I am curious when it comes to Canelo and Crawford, just because I hold people to their words. And Crawford said he wanted to fight against Canelo. Now, I know Canelo post-fight, he was like, it got to make sense and all this. But what is he supposed to say? Because he just won and he's being overwhelmed with questions about somebody who has nothing to do with that particular fight. Canelo said he would fight Crawford. He just not moving down in weight. He says, I'll fight him at 168 if he wants to come up, and it makes sense. Showtime and PBC, if they can make financial sense, then I'm sure both fighters would take the fight. At least that's what they said. But as of me recording this video, I am curious when and if Crawford will say something and continue to call out Canelo, because many people thought Canelo was washed up. Many people said Canelo was done. I thought his last 3 performances looked poor, but despite Charlo moving up in weight, Canelo did his thing. His stamina looked improved. He looked strong. He says that he was coming off injuries, but now he's better. So you got to take the man at face value at what he's saying. And now it leads to the question that Stephen A. Smith is asking. He says, who is Crawford going to fight? Many people don't want to see him fight Errol Spence Jr. again. I don't know if he has a choice really, but as of right now, we'll see how that plays out with Errol Spence. But Stephen A. Smith said a lot of people don't want to see that fight. Are you going to fight Jaron Boots Ennis? And it's so funny because now you got people like Stephen A. Smith and you got your boy Ego agreeing with Stephen A. Smith and what he's saying. And I don't always agree with what Stephen A. Smith says regarding boxing. So it's just funny. When I brought up the concept of Terence Crawford fighting against Jaron Ennis, people said, oh, you're tripping, you're hating, you just want to see him lose. But that doesn't make sense because let the Crawford fans tell it, nobody can beat Crawford. So how is it that I just want to see him lose? I just think the Jaron Ennis fight is a rightful fight. He's the mandatory. He's definitely in the top conversation of top welterweights. They both are ambidextrous. Both have a spicy style. Jaron Ennis is a switch hitter. Crawford's a switch hitter. He's the mandatory. I need to see where Jaron, it's not just about Crawford. It's about Jaron Ennis. We need to truly see where he is as a fighter. He keeps calling out the big names, and I think he's deserving of a title shot at this point. You know, he said he wanted to fight Errol Spence. He said he wanted to fight Crawford. He's been pretty much decimating the lower level of competition. So it's also about the progression of Jaron Ennis too. We need to see where he truly is at, because at the end of the day, who wants to see Jaron Boots Ennis keep fighting guys unless they have a chance? Because we've seen Jaron Ennis against C fighters, B- fighter, you know, certain echelon that he's been able to get thus far. We've already seen that. We've already seen him against these fighters, and it keeps being the same outcome. Guys like Castillo Clayton was ranked, and it was a first round knockout, right? He knocked him out in the first round, made it look easy. Castillo Clayton kind of shelled up, and he's an in-shape dude, as you guys can see from this picture, in-shape dude, and effortlessly, or at least that's how it looked. I'm not saying the training and stuff is effortless, but Jaron made it look easy. So yeah, who wouldn't want to see Boots versus Crawford? So I think this needs to be a real life conversation. Unfortunately, you have Team Crawford, who is really dismissive of Jaron Ennis and saying it don't make sense. And it's just funny how this works. They're saying that Boots Ennis doesn't make sense and who doesn't want to see it. But then you got a guy like Stephen A. Smith with a big reach and audience with his show First Take, and he's doing his podcast and stuff like that, and he's calling for the Boots Ennis fight. So if what Crawford's team was saying was true and nobody wants to see it and it doesn't represent, then why do you have somebody within mainstream media with impressions and reach, and they're calling for Crawford, hey, what are you going to do? Crawford said he's not fighting Jermell Charlo because how he looked versus Canelo. Some people don't want to see the fight with Errol Spence in a rematch. So it's like, what are we going to do? Who else is he going to fight? He hasn't mentioned Canelo ever since Canelo destroyed, or whatever people are saying, Jermell Charlo, ever since that performance. I haven't really heard Crawford much. So yeah, I think Boots should be somebody that's considered as a future fight. And it's just funny, this always happens for fighters like Boots Ennis. It always happens when guys look good, pause, and they look like threats, and they seemingly can't get the fights, and they have to keep doing all this extra. But then guys like David Avocado, he doesn't have to do anything extra to get a Terence Crawford fight. Crawford just says, oh, I'll fight against David Avocado on BBL Prime. You know what I mean? And it's like, what? How's he get a fight? But then you're mandatory. Oh, he got to do more, and he got to do this. The other thing is you should expect this because Crawford now is a 2X champion, 2X undisputed. He has all the belts. Of course, guys like Jaron Boots Ennis are going to come try to see you and knock out the door and want to fight you because you have all the hardware in the division. So he could never become a champion unless you fight him or you retire or move up and vacate the belt. And nobody that's a true champion deep down inside wants to fight somebody for a vacant title as opposed to fighting a champion and lifting the title and taking the title off of them. So I'm glad Stephen A. Smith brought this up and is also talking about it. I think the conversation really should be Terence Crawford versus Jaron Ennis, especially if you're not trying to see Crawford jump up 3 weight classes to fight Canelo. Again, for me, that fight doesn't really make sense for obvious reasons. You got a guy moving up 21 pounds because he has, this grudge or he wants to be 3X undisputed and all this other stuff. It just doesn't really make sense. And what have we learned from Jermell Charlo moving up 14 pounds or 2 weight classes? He literally got in there with Canelo, and a guy who's normally known for power, like Jermell Charlo at 54, literally couldn't even deter or move or push back Canelo. So can a guy who's moving up 3 weight classes that started out lighter than Charlo, like Crawford, can he really move up in one fell swoop without acclamation, move up 21 pounds and really push Canelo back? So to me, it's just like kind of a money grab fight. Meanwhile, you got this big brolic Philly welterweight who's been calling out everybody. And I just think it's a great fight. So we'll see. Crawford, he has some options. We'll see how that plays off. Let me know what you guys think. What fight do you want to see the most? Terence Crawford, he has some decisions to make. I'll leave it at that. We unpacked.
Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks.
The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.
Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We work.